Andres Cortes versus Bryan Chevalier, 10 rounds in the junior lightweight division. This is on the undercard of O'Shaquie Foster and Abraham Nova. Let's get into it. Let's start with Andres Cortes. 20 wins, no losses. 11 wins by way of knockout. Cortes has built up a lot of momentum for himself, especially in the past 3-4 years. A lot of good, solid fights that he's been involved with. And the first fight that I kind of started taking notice of him a little bit more was when he fought Genesis Cervini in 2021. Someone who fought known opponents like Oscar Valdez and Carlos Castro. And Cortes was able to do what those two were not able to do, and that's to stop him with a beautifully timed right hook followed by the left hand, and he was able to close out the show. It was a wicked shot, and he made a very short night of his opponent. And so putting himself in the spotlight a little bit more, after that, his next two opponents, he stopped his next two opponents. He was tested a little bit against Del Bosco, but those two put forth a great fight between those two. And Cortes again showed that he is here and he is ready for whatever is to coming his way. He is going to prepare and he is going to be ready for that moment. He was in tough against Abraham Montoya. He was trying to use his feet a little bit more in the fight, trying to outbox his opponent, counterpunch him a little bit more than what we're used to seeing him. And personally, I didn't like that performance too much. I thought he was a little bit too cautious, thought he could have been more aggressive. Now, I understand the stylistic game plan sometimes, right? Montoya is more experienced, right? And he's a guy that is right in front of your face, want that all-out war type of fight, and a guy that even though he has 5 losses, he's never been stopped before and barely even dropped before. And this is a litmus test, so to speak. Montoya, he is going to be a very good test for the young fighters because you can't make a lot of mistakes against him because he's straightforward, going to come forward, and he can punch. His consistent pressure wears you down. And so maybe that's why coming in, right, this team saw something different in the style and came in just a little bit iffy. And that was maybe because, right, the aggression was on his side. I like Cortes when he's able to come forward and fight off the front foot. Right? I thought he did a good job for the most part, keeping the distance control and being patient. But I think he was a little bit too patient at some times. But he boxed very well. It wasn't until the 6th round that he started to find his timing and his groove a little bit. Right? He was fighting on the back foot most of that fight. And he did what he needed to do and came out on top. But he couldn't evade Montoya every single round. He got clipped in the 6th round that landed cleanly and almost dropped Cortes, but he took it well and survived the round. I thought Montoya gave Cortes a very good challenge, a very good test. After that, he fought Luis Melendez, a guy who has good power, good pop in his shots. I thought he put forth a much better complete showing in that fight. He was coming forward with a steady dose of pressure and tactical approach to what he was doing, a little bit more strategy behind it. I think he's much more better on the front foot than he is on the back foot. There was a lot of holding and clinching in that fight. I didn't like that too much, but Cortes did a good job of not allowing Melendez to get into his groove, right? He kept the pressure and he was more physical in that fight from the jump, right? He tried to limit some of the power that Melendez does possess. I thought both men were aggressive in spurts and looked like they were trying to counterpunch each other. Bit of that chess match a little bit. Both men were lunging forward, letting off flurries and combinations, but they were both barely missing, kind of at similar range. In the entirety of the fight, Cortes boxed very well in that fight, and he had to fight through a cut on his eye as well too. So he had to fight through that and not let the cut on his eye be something that holds him back. And he's focusing more on the cut than he is his opponent, because as we know in boxing, you're going to get cut. You're going to have to fight through some stuff, and he did a good job of doing that. In his most recent fight, he fought Xavier Martinez, a natural counterpuncher who's looking to capitalize off his opponent's mistakes, right? He's a high volume guy. He's patient, and he's always trying to find his opponent's timing. Cortes got clipped in the 4th round with a counter left hook that landed cleanly, but it didn't really put him in danger, right? Like Cortes was able to take it and come back with a nice body shot that slowed up Martinez about 20 seconds before that round ended. Cortes is an accurate puncher, right? He was targeting the right side of Martinez's face because he had a cut on that eye, and then it started to swell up. And when you see your opponent with a disadvantage and you see that eye swelling and there's a cut underneath their eye, you are going to target that eye to make it worse and worse and worse. And that cut got worse and worse and worse. It was real bad. You had Martinez eye, blood gushing down his face. Man, it was getting worse and worse. And I'm not mad that his corner said, look, we've seen enough. We're not coming out. We're not going to risk your life here. We are going to put a stop to this. So I wasn't even mad at the stoppage, but from a strategic standpoint, it was a very smart move for Cortes to hit what was working and hit what was in danger. Cortes' style isn't the prettiest style to watch, but he's effective. He's physical, he's rough, and he's accurate with his shots, and he's got good pop in the shots too. So it was a close fight. Cortes was up on 2 judges' scorecards. One judge had Martinez up, so we'll see what more Cortes has in this fight. Let's talk about his opponent, Bryan Chevalier. 20 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 16 wins by way of knockout. Chevalier has the height advantage of 5 inches, the reach advantage by 3 or 4 inches, if I remember correctly. He's a much better fighter now than when he fought Harold Reyes to a draw. He's a much better fighter than when he fought Santiago, that he suffered his first loss in a fight where he got stopped in that fight in the first round. He's a guy with good range. He's got good power and a lot of heart. When he fought Luis Popeye LeBron, that was a fight where he took some punches and kept punching, right? A fight where he had to dig deep and make the right adjustments and find a way to come out on top. Sometimes, it's not so much about the skill, the talent. It's more about the heart, the determination. And some fights, man, when it's rough and tough and not looking the greatest, you got to find a way to come out on top. And he was able to do that on that night. He's got a good, solid jab. He's patient, but not too patient. He's got good technique, good fundamentals, and his footwork is pretty good, man. Like, it's gotten so much better. And this is a guy who is very efficient, effective, doesn't waste a whole lot of punches, not a whole lot of wasted motion. When he fought Carlos Zambrano, he showed us a bit of everything in that fight. Even though Zambrano was a little bit older, right? He still had that veteran experience, and that experience where he can make it tough for a young fighter. And Chevalier showed us his accuracy, using his reach advantage. Even though he is the taller guy, he isn't a guy that fights like a shorter guy. He uses his height, his reach to his advantage. Sometimes taller fighters with the height advantage, the reach advantage, they want to get it and bang in close on the inside when they don't have to do that. He knows how to use both of those things to his strengths. He can fight on the outside and he can fight on the inside if that's where the fight needs to go. He's a physical guy, but he likes that mid-distance range where he can poke at you, slip in and slip out without getting touched up. And he can reach you from a good amount of distance without overextending himself. I think he's also got pretty good defense because he's able to keep that range and he's good at controlling the distance. It's not a great defense, but it's good enough. Right? He got a cut on his eye against Zambrano, but it never really fazed him. Right? He just kept his poise, stuck to his game plan. He's a smart guy. He knows how to work through clinches, how to slip in shots when needed. He doesn't have to create separation to generate good power and be able to back his opponents up. Right? He dropped Zambrano to the body, and with the same hand, it was like a left to the body and left to the head. It was actually a beautiful sequence, man. That's not an easy thing to execute. He was able to do it. Couple minutes later, he landed a blistering body shot that landed so cleanly, so efficiently, so effectively, so forcefully, right? A beautiful shot to the sternum. And after he landed that shot, man, Zambrano was not able to get up. And honestly, I don't blame him, man. That shot looked vicious. A lot of people would not have gotten up from that shot. It was beautifully timed, beautifully placed. After that, then he comes to America and fights James Wilkins, and those two were going back and forth. I don't know what they were arguing about. but they didn't like each other. But he came over there and got the unanimous decision victory. So fighting away from his home country is not something that he's afraid of. It doesn't scare him. He's done it before and knows how to handle the pressure situation. And once you suffered a loss, you're not worried about losing a game. So he's not fighting scared of losing a fight. He's already lost. Now he's fighting for that respect. He's fighting to be the best. He would also go on to beat Alberto Mercado a few fights later, and he dominated that fight from the jump. I mean, catching him with a counter right hook in the second round that landed and it dropped Mercado to the canvas. If he was a little bit more patient and wasn't just headhunting, but it's natural, right? Like you have your opponent hurt, the natural thing is to go for the head to take him out. But if he would have just slowed it down a little bit and not rush him when he had him hurt a little bit in that time, because he had like a minute to work out. And so he wasn't able to get the stoppage when he dropped him the first time, but he was able to get the stoppage in the 7th round. And Mercado's corner, you know, they decided for him not to come out of the corner. I mean, if you saw his eye was swollen like a tennis ball, like it was bad. So again, another fight that he was able to get the stoppage win in some form. Like Chevalier can punch, right? And he's accurate with each punch. He's got the right mix of aggression and boxing skills. In his most recent fight, he fought Ramfis Encarnacion, the Dominican fighter with good power, a physical fighter, and man, Chevalier imposed his size and his power early. He was hitting the body of Encarnacion early, but he wasn't going away. Encarnacion's a tough opponent, man. He's solid. He's built strong, right? That fight turned out to be a test of that determination and that will to see who was going to outlast who was going to be the tougher person mentally on that night, right? And Chevalier was slicker on the inside, right? And he was able to maneuver a little bit better than Encarnacion, right? After Chevalier got cut on the side of his face, man, that's when you saw him really use that ring IQ. Yeah, he could have went and banged on the inside and still continued that physical fight. But it's like he said, wait a minute, I have other skills here that I can use, and I have other ways how to win this fight. And he kind of just backed off and started boxing on the outside, started moving laterally, right? Started feinting a little bit, getting behind that jab, pushing through that right hand, and just boxed beautifully, but he made the right adjustments at the right time. His boxing ability and IQ, man, that really has improved and carried over the year. And I thought we saw a great example of those improvements in this fight. And whenever you're able to fight with blood gushing down your face, man, and not lose yourself and keep that poise and that maturity, that is a testament of the belief and the trust that you have in you, not to let the pressure in the moment be too big for you. So he was able, again, to get the stoppage win in that fight. He just stuck to his game plan, kept his poise, showed that, man, I can outbox my opponents as well, too. Like, I can beat you in more than one way. It was another fight that his opponent did not come out of the corner, and I'm not mad at it. I thought his last 6 fights have been really, really well fought. And we've seen him win in different ways. So it makes this whole fight even that much more interesting. So who wins? Cortes has the type of style that it can seem like he's not doing a whole lot. And then you look up on the cards and you're like, wait a minute, you're down a couple rounds, right? He's a solid technical fighter who wants to make the fight physical and he wants to make the pace slow. If he can slow things down, there's a good chance that he's going to frustrate you. He's got good movement, not great movement, but he's got that type of style, man, where if you let him dictate the pace, he's going to come on the front foot, jab, body shot, clench, jab, headshot, clench. Like it can frustrate you because he's going to smother and try to neutralize your offense. Chevalier is someone who knows how to use his reach to his advantage, right? Knows how to punch. I don't think he is going to be an opponent to just sit around and let the fight be a slow pace fight, because that plays to Cortes's fight, right? He can't come and attack into this fight without a game plan. Otherwise, he'll get clipped. Cortes hand speeds quicker than he looks, right? Cortes sometimes at the same time, going back to the physical fight, and what he likes is he can do some things when he's clenching to frustrate his opponents, right? He might put that shoulder in your chin as you're clenching, right? He might slip that elbow in when you're clenching. Like, he does things like that that can frustrate you. He does stuff like that to make it tough. And Chevalier has to be careful because he's a guy that seems to be cut early. It doesn't take him a whole lot to be cut. He gets cut easily from the fights that I've seen, right? But in this fight, though, man, I've seen Chevalier get cut. I've seen him react in a way that he doesn't lose control. Like, he doesn't fight emotionally. And a fighter that can stay composed when you're bleeding or when things aren't going in your favor, as we've seen from both fighters, right? But a fighter who can do that consistently, man, is a fighter that I think is going to come out on top. And from the fights that I've seen, Chevalier seems to be able to keep his poise under duress, under stress a little bit better. Even though he has a loss and a draw on his resume, man, I think he is fighting at a very, very high level right now. I think it's going to be a close fight. And we've seen if Chevalier can bring the pressure and have Cortes fight off the back foot. Cortes isn't a guy that is the best at fighting off of the back foot. I like him when he's on his front foot, but I think if Chevalier can press the pace a little bit and have him fighting off the back foot, then he's going to be able to kind of control this fight a little bit better. And I think he can win this fight on the inside, and I think he can box on the outside just slightly a little bit better than Cortes can. So I'm leaning towards Bryan Chevalier to win this fight. I think he is going to fight on the outside, mix it up on the inside when he needs to, right? And he's going to be effective early. I think he can be effective in both styles of fight. He's going to use his reach and his physical advantages to his advantage. Cortes is not a guy that likes fighting off the back foot. If you make him a counter-puncher boxer, it can be a long night for him. And Chevalier is going to try and do more of that in the fight to pick up the pace a little bit more. And he's the one being the pressuring guy. I think it's a close fight, but I think Chevalier wins this fight by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel. It will be greatly, greatly appreciated. Shout out to everybody that continues to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate each of you. Shout out to all the members holding down the membership section. You know, it's always, always love. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this time, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.